Hey, so my name is Sean, and I'm a sitar student. I almost said I'm a sitar player, but I guess that's kind of true, but it's not entirely true. I am a musician, but my whole life I've been a drummer. So the long story short is I used to be a kit drummer. I played a lot of jazz and basic Western rock. It wasn't until like my mid-30s that I got introduced to South Asian classical music. And so the first thing I did being a drummer is I went and found a tabla teacher. I started to learn tabla, and this goes back maybe 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. And so I played tabla for several years and actually got good enough to be invited to sort of learn with an ensemble, so I got to play on stage for a summer doing various shows. I was never a full-on member of the ensemble, but I was getting to the point where my playing was improving enough that that was going to be an inevitable thing that would happen. And so I could actually play tabla reasonably well, but then I injured my hand. And so this finger, I was a left-handed tabla player. This finger and this finger ended up getting damaged. And for like a whole year, I couldn't close my hand completely. Whatever impact injury had happened through here, as a result of doing these big shows, I was never able to play again. And I sat there for 3 years, staring at my tabla drums, not playing them. Then one day I tried, got into about a week of it, and then at the end of that week it hurt again, so I knew that I was done. However, I had studied sitar, in case that's not in the camera view, I had studied sitar lightly with my first teacher, who is now just a friend of mine still. And anyway, so I learned a little bit of sitar, never intending it to be my main instrument because I was playing tabla at the time. So after the break, not being able to play tabla, I looked at my sitar, not this one, it was an older one, a student model. This is a pro model actually. This is a Hiranroy. For those of you who know what a Hiranroy is, it's sort of like the Gibson of sitars, if you will. You know, sitars are made by families in India generally, the good sitars, and this one is made by Hiranroy's son. So it's a Hiranroy sitar. Anyway, doesn't matter. So it's a pro sitar, and so I ended up getting this because I got a new teacher. So after the 3-year break, I looked at my old sitar and thought, well, I could play sitar, maybe that won't hurt. I tried it and it didn't aggravate the injury. So I ended up finding a teacher and going in for sitar. So anyway, here I am. And this YouTube channel is going to be about documenting my progress. It may only be me and my teacher, whoever looks at these videos for that matter. If you subscribe or if you're seeing these videos, there's going to be more than this is just the first one. I'm going to try and do one every week. And what I want to be able to do is document my progress, talk about my challenges, and see what happens. Because being a drummer and a percussionist, it makes it a real challenge trying to transition to a string instrument, especially so late in my life. And the consequence of that is because I didn't start when I was 12, and of course I regret that now, but you can't live in regret, right? You can't sort of do that. You have to kind of go, okay, well, moving on. So now that I'm with this string instrument, I'm trying to beat the drummer out of me a little bit, but it never quite goes away, which is good in some ways. I have a very good sense of rhythm, very good sense of timing. I have a metronome in my head, and my time is really solid. So that helps me when I play. But of course, the nuance and musicality of a string instrument is an entirely foreign thing to me. And my hands have been fighting this instrument the whole way. I've been studying for about 3 years. If you sort of added it all up, maybe it's 4 years in total, everything jammed together. But so it's been a couple of years is the point. And so I figure this is time. I'm in it now. I'm serious about it. I'm not going to stop playing. So this was the time to document the progress. So the first thing that, you know, as a sitar player that of course you have to get used to is I don't sit the proper way because my legs just will not bend that way. That's something I'd have to work on. But ultimately, the sitar position is to have this foot underneath. The sitar would sit on this foot, be perfectly balanced, while this leg kind of gets out of the way so that the sitar has room to be played. Now, I can sit like this for about 15 seconds before the muscles start to give because I'm having to like hold them in place, which is not good. So, you know, maybe sometime These will loosen up enough that I can sit that way, but not so far. So I've had to sit in this position, which is fine ultimately. I'm able to play. It doesn't affect my playing. But it's not the right aesthetic, and those things are minor, but you know, enough that it bothers me a bit. But anyway, so that's my basic story. So here's the deal. With all that stuff said, you know, I'm a drummer, I'm fighting this string instrument. I do love to play, and I love the sitar, and I love the things that I've learned so far, and I love playing, I really do. And the struggle is practice. So practice, you know, I can't possibly practice 6 hours a day, 6, 7 hours a day. I mean, when I say I can't possibly, I guess what I mean is, if I didn't have to pay the rent and the phone bill, sure, right? So there's a couple of things about that. I do my best to practice in the mornings for a few hours. I play at night for a few hours. And so hopefully I'm getting enough in. But the point is that realistically, I won't have enough life ahead of me to actually get good at this instrument. There's no hope, no possibility whatsoever. And so here's the challenge. I talked to my teacher, and we both agreed that, okay, let's look at material and technique, and let's separate those a little bit. And so let's get less material, more technique. So instead of learning a new rag every couple of months, we're going to stick with the few that we've worked on so far. And there's only 4. So there's Bhagashri, Malkones, Meg, and Bhairavi. Those are the 4 that we've done. Now I've played other rags for Lehra, and a Lehra is like a pattern you play when you're playing for dancers or playing for other musicians to accompany them. It's a time cycle. And so I'll get more into that in a later video. But anyway, the point is that by narrowing the material, I can focus on getting better at that material and then also improving my technique. Because, you know, this stuff, the rags are so deep, the material is so deep, that there's no way I could, you know, become good at Malkones in 5, 6 months, then move on to the next rag, and then be able to pull it out and play it any time I want. Because I didn't grow up listening to these rags. I don't listen to, you know, Bollywood music constantly where these things are all embedded here and there, and I don't listen to, well, now I do. I listen to South Asian classical all the time. But that wasn't true the rest of my life. I mean, this is only true of the last 10 years. And so 10 years of listening to music is not enough for the stuff to be in my DNA. So I don't hear something and go, oh yeah, that's rag, whatever. Can't do it. So, you know, that's the problem. So anyway, Malkones is the rag that I'm just currently playing around with. I recently just finished Bhagashri for a student recital, but Malkones is what I'm returning to, which was I think my second rag that I learned. And Malkones is a major rag, and it's basically, the progression of notes is, see, that was bad. So that's Malkones. And rags are defined by the patterns that you play and the notes and the rules of the rag for interpretation when you're doing improv or whatever. So, but the point is, the first thing that I'm really trying to get over, and what this video is kind of about, is trying to get past playing speed. I'm stuck at a certain speed. And by speed, I mean when we do things called sapatan, which if I do it slow, is like this. So what you do is you keep playing the pattern of the rag up and down, over and over and over, so you kind of get it into your system a little bit. And speed becomes the issue. So this is a slow speed. Right? So the idea is that you would increase that speed. So that's the point. Now when I try to increase my speed, however, when I get to a certain point, right, This hand goes completely out the window because the motion is this up and down, opening and closing of the hand is the motion. Then this hand, of course, handles the frets. So this hand starts to go like this, and this hand starts to tighten up. My whole body seizes up when I try to go fast. That's an involuntary act on my part. I'm not doing that out of nerves. I'm not doing that out of any other reason except my body just goes, up yours, and it just tightens up whenever I try to go fast. And so I've been stuck. Now, no one gets stuck for this long, but I've been stuck on the same top speed for 1 year, which is not only unacceptable, and that every other sitar player would go, you're useless, just give up now, because you're not going to improve. If it took you a year and you're still stuck at that speed, sell your sitar and go be an accountant. That's what they would say, and they wouldn't be wrong. But I can't give up and don't want to at this point, as frustrated as I am. The problem is not that I can't get faster. The problem is my hands can move plenty fast, but as soon as I pass through this threshold, all of a sudden it all just tightens up and slows down. So, you know, to give you an example of what that is like, I've got my little handy dandy technology which gives me the Tintal cycle, which is what this is, Volembit Tintal. Te, te, din, din, da. So if you can hear that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of hear how that works. So the idea is that each one of these beats, you try to increase the amount you can play in those beats. So that was 4s, this is 5. I got a little bit there. And so that was 5s. 6s is my barrier. So when you hear this, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Here's the beat. And so that's kind of the idea, is that you try to increase that speed and increase that speed. 6s is where I'm stuck, trying to get up faster, higher than that. So that's the goal. Anyway, I'll put up another video next week and tell you more about my struggles, but I just wanted to welcome you to my channel, give you an idea of what's to come, a little bit of my story, and that's it. So anyway, thanks for watching.